Chapter 228, Auction, 4. Here's your item. Holding onto a golden tray, Jeremiah politely bowed in my direction. Thank you. Smiling kindly towards Jeremiah, I took the item that was on the tray. A small black rock. If you will excuse me, I will be leaving now. If you require my services once again, please feel free to contact me. Will do. Nodding my head, I watched as Jeremiah left the room. You've seen enough? Tossing and playing with the rock in my hand, I quietly moved back to my seat. Completely disregarding the questioning looks coming from the others. Ren, why did you buy the rock? Kevin asked as he looked at the rock in my hand. This? Smiling, I casually tossed the rock in the air. Well, since they said it's unbreakable, why wouldn't I be interested in it? If I can somehow break it, wouldn't it be worth the cost? Didn't you hear the part where it said that you can't break it? Emma interjected. What about in the long run? With modern technology advancing with each passing day, why disregard the possibility of being able to cut the rock in the future? Once again tossing the rock in the air, I calmly rebutted. If one day the rock could be cut, its value would definitely shoot through the roof. Not that this was the reason as to why I bought the rock, but it was indeed a good point. That's actually a good point. At the words, long run, Kevin finally had a look of understanding, as he proceeded to nod his head. It seems like he thought that I was hinting at him that this was one of the things that I saw from my foreseeing abilities, but this was not really what I meant. In the first place, why would I get such a detailed vision about a rock? It didn't make sense. That aside, after my statement, Emma also shut up. She probably had given up. Next up for our next item, here we have an amazing. Taking everyone's attention away from me was the auctioneer who started presenting the next item. Fools. Playing with the rock in my hand, I shook my head. What I had said before about being able to cut the rock in the future was a lie. This rock wasn't something that modern technology could cut. The reason for this was because the rock in my hand was a metal known as occluum. An extremely dense and rare material that could only be found on a dwarven planet. Though I wasn't exactly sure as to how the metal ended up in the auction as I never touched upon it in the novel, I knew that with it I could create an amazing weapon. Originally this ore was supposed to have been bought by someone else. Unfortunately, the said person ended up becoming a villain. He was also the villain who owned the sword that I wanted to get. The very same sword that was made using the ore below. At first, I wanted to just wait till the precise time where the villain would show up in the novel to take his sword, but after thinking things through I realized. Why take his sword when I can have one forged specifically for me? With the knowledge I had about this world, I knew someone who could make the sword that I wanted. Malval Ironhawk. A legendary dwarven figure known for his masterful craftsmanship. There were only 5 entities that could properly handle occluum properly, and he was one of them. If anybody else tried, though they would be able to forge a weapon, the artifact would never reach its full potential. I knew this since the sword I had originally wanted to take was only rank. It was clear as day that whoever made that sword was an amateur. Especially since occluum was a material used to make ranked and above artifacts. Thus, in order for me to get a good sword, I knew that I had to make a trip to the dwarven domain in the foreseeable future. Well, that's all for the distant future. As of now, I can't really do anything. Especially not with this rock. PSHHHH. Clenching my hand with all of my power, the rock disintegrated in my hand. As expected, it's fake, I muttered softly as I opened my palm and fine black granules of sand fell on the floor. He's already made the swap, huh? Being a thief, Ivan disguised himself as Jeremiah, a leading attendant of the banquet. His job as Jeremiah was to attend to several VVIP clients and give them the object that they had purchased. However, having made preparations in advance, Jeremiah had a copy of each and every single item sold at the auction today. Whenever one of the people he was in charge of purchased an item, Ivan would quickly replace it with a fake. Because everyone's attention was focused on the auction, no one noticed that they were given a fake. Of course, the fakes were good fakes. In theory, I shouldn't have been able to break the rock, but I had come prepared beforehand. Furthermore, if someone did in fact discover that the item they had was a fake, Ivan could quickly swap his face and escape. This was one of the reasons why he was so infamous. Because he was so hard to catch. Unfortunately for him, today was going to be his last day operating as a thief. It's not like I'm just going to leave you alone after you stole from me. I wasn't someone who forgot their grudges. Dumb. Dumb. Suddenly the stage lights lit up. The main event was just about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor that I present to you the final item of today. Before that, I would like to firstly thank the host of this place. Standing in the middle of the hall, the announcer stood with his back straight. I ignored whatever he was saying as the next couple of minutes were spent on pleasantries. And now I hereby present to you today's main item. Finished with the boring part, the announcer smiled and got to the main point. The last item. Removing the veil, a beautiful slim sword appeared before everyone in the hall. Instantly the chattering died down. Everyone's attention was drawn towards the sword. That's right, everyone. Today, I am delighted to present you guys an ranked artifact. You heard me right, an ranked artifact. The name of the sword is Dawn of the Avenger, and it is considered by many as one of the strongest and sturdiest swords available on the market. It has. Satisfied with the crowd's reaction, the auctioneer began introducing the item. From its history to everything that someone needed to know. Nothing was spared. Wham! Listening to the announcer speak, a yawn escaped from my lips. I was bored. Well, it was understandable. Though the sword below me was an ranked artifact, I had no interest in it. Not because I didn't like it, but it was because I couldn't afford it. Since I couldn't have it, why even care? It was evident that Emma felt the same way as she also yawned not long after. And so, 20 more minutes passed this way. Hey, Kevin, can lend me your bidding tablet? Sitting one seat next to Kevin, I leaned in slightly and softly whispered. You're bidding for the main event item? Do you even have enough money? Kevin's brows knit. No, not really. I quickly shook my head. The sword was worth at least $1 billion. There was no way the current me could afford it. Still, for my plan to work I needed to do a little bidding. Then why are you even planning on bidding? To test my luck? I half-heartedly replied. What? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. If you want to test your luck, just do it on your own. Why ask me? Hearing my answer, Kevin instantly rebutted. Shaking my head, I calmly responded. No, I don't want to attract too much attention on me. You do it for me. I had already spent 100+ million on a rock. If people were to find out that I was willing to pay even more for the sword, I'd gather a lot of unnecessary attention. Wasn't something I wanted. That doesn't make sense. Listening to my explanation, Kevin tilted his head in confusion. Grabbing him by the sleeve of his suit, I pleaded. Come on, please? I'll owe you 1 inch. Just this once. Under my pleading eyes, after a couple of seconds had passed, Kevin covered his face with his hand and sighed. He had given in to my demands. Yup, don't worry. If you told me to turn right, I won't even glance at the left. A beautiful smile blossomed on my face. Stop being so dramatic, here. Rolling his eyes, Kevin handed me his tablet. Taking the tablet, I smiled widely. This is probably the worst decision you could ever make. I wasn't being completely honest with Kevin. Although I was indeed not going to purchase the sword, what I was about to do next would prove to be quite troubling for him. Oh, right. Don't get flustered later, and don't care about the money. Recalling something, I quickly warned Kevin. What do you mean? Turning his head in my direction, Kevin frowned. In response, I patted him on the shoulders and reassured him that everything was going to be fine. Don't worry, I've got it covered. Just don't act surprised regardless of what I do. Furthermore, don't reveal to anyone, and I mean don't reveal to anyone that I am the one bidding. Understood? Making sure that everyone thought Kevin was the one making the bids was key. If not, my plan wouldn't work. I was especially emphasizing this part. Honestly, I don't have a good feeling about. Just trust me. All right, but be careful. Yup, don't worry. With a bitter smile, Kevin nodded his head. Seeing this, I smiled and looked back at the auction below. Number 754, bids 89 million U. Is there anyone else? Number 76 bids 90 million U. Bid after bids were being made with each passing second. All right, it's time to let the fun begin. Crossing my legs, I pressed on the tablet screen before me. Instantly I made a bid. Oh. It looks like bidder number 17 has entered the fray with 98 million U. The moment the sword was unveiled, inside of a different VVIP room, Monica stood up and shouted. I want that. Not again. With a bitter smile, Donna shook her head. Noticing the twinkle in Monica's eyes, Donna knew that at this moment nothing could stop Monica from buying the sword. Monica, do you have enough money? Sitting next to Monica, Amber asked. Of course. I have plenty of money saved up. Monica instantly nodded her head. Excluding the extra money she got from brand deals and dungeon runs, Monica's salary was around 100 million U a year. Her overall net worth was in the billions. Without a doubt, she had money. Where is the tablet? Asked Monica as she looked around the room. Here. Amber handed Monica a tablet and curiously asked. Are you sure you want the sword? Isn't your sword good enough? My sword is good, but it's about time I changed my sword. Monica's current sword was only ranked. It had the amazing effect of applying her flame scion control, however now that she was closing in on rank, it was about time she changed her sword. If she reached rank, and rank sword wouldn't really be useful for her anymore as it wouldn't be able to hold her power. She needed to buy a new sword. Okay, since it's your money I won't stop you. Though she didn't understand, Amber nodded her head. She then sat back down and proceeded to pay attention to the auction. Let's start big. Looking at the tablet, Monica quickly set up a price and made a bid. Wow. Buyer 79 does not seem to want to joke around. 300 million right off the bat. I will get you at all costs, softly muttered Monica as she placed both hands on the glass window that overlooked the auction hall. At the same time. Number 17, 330 million U. Is there any higher bid? Hey, Ren, what the hell is going on? Where in the world did you even get all of this money from? With a pale face, Kevin softly whispered next to me. At the moment he was being bombarded with questions by Emma. Having promised me to not disclose anything, Kevin could only helplessly look at Emma as she continued to berate him. Next to her, Amanda and Melissa were also looking at Kevin with a shocked expressions. Trust me, everything will be fine. Calmly reading my red book and ignoring the commotion, I nonchalantly waved my hand and pressed on the tablet again. Though I understood Kevin's concern, I had everything under control at the moment. With the book in my hand, I knew my limits. Oh, it's bidder 79 this time with 380 million U. Is there anyone else that is willing to bid again? Prompting me to raise my brow was the announcer's voice. Oh. She raised the bid again? Muttering in a soft tone, I pressed on the tablet in my hand once again and looked at the private room across to me. Though the glass windows were tainted, I knew who the person bidding was. Monica Jeffrey. My second private instructor. Oh, it's bidder 79 this time with 380 million U. Is there anyone else that is willing to bid again? What? Kevin, are you out of your mind? Just where did you get all of this money from? Staring at the bid, Emma could no longer sit still and stood up. Well, that is. I really like the sword. In a flustered manner, Kevin responded. Seriously? By the side, I facepalmed. Just what kind of excuse was this? What? It still doesn't make sense. You are still miles away from S rank. What would you need an S-ranked sword for? You're wasting all of your money. Completely disregarding Kevin's statement, Emma berated. Listening by the side, I nodded my head. What Emma said wasn't wrong. Typically, because of the mana capacity requirement to utilize a high-ranking artifact, only those who were close to that rank could use it. If Kevin, who was D rank, tried to use an S-ranked sword, it would simply not work since he wouldn't be able to activate it. Well, that wasn't really a concern since we weren't actually going to buy the sword. Ren, help me. Subjected by Emma's constant berating, Kevin helplessly looked in my direction. Shaking my head, I spoke some words of encouragement. Not long after, I once again placed down a bid. Just keep doing what you're doing, trust me, it'll be worth it. It's bidder 17 this time with 400 million U. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached a record-breaking figure here. Will there be anyone else who would be willing to break the record? What? Did you bid again, Kevin? Are you even listening to me? Disrupting Emma was a loud chime that resounded across the room. It was the room service button. What are you doing? Melissa asked as she turned around and looked at me. In response to her question, I gave her a simple reply. Me? I'm just calling Jeremiah. I have something to ask of him. Oh, okay. Quickly losing interest, Melissa nodded her head and turned around, and looked at the auction below. Grrr. Who is bidder 17? I will rip them to shreds. Gnashing her teeth, Monica furiously pressed on her tablet. Her chests heaved up and down unevenly. She was obviously angry. Oh, it's bidder 79 this time with 1.1 billion U. Is there anyone else that is willing to bid again? I dare you to bid higher. Listening to the announcer's voice, Monica's chest heaved up and down even more fiercely. For the past 10 minutes or so, she and bidder number 17 had been at each other's throats, continuously outbidding against one another. It got to the point that the price had just gone up to a whopping 1 billion U. This was insane. Almost unheard of, in fact. By now all of the other contestants had pulled out. It was just the two of them. It's bidder 17 this time with 1.2 billion U. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached a record-breaking figure here. Will there be anyone else who would be willing to break the record? Gah! Monica's high-pitched scream resounded across the room. Hey, Monica, calm down. Next to Monica, Donna tried her best to calm her down. But knowing Monica's character full well, she didn't stop her from bidding. She was a lost cause. No. How dare you fight me for the sword? I want the sword at all costs, angrily muttered Monica as she glared at the room opposite to hers. Bitter 17, after this is over I'm definitely going pay you a visit. Monica swore to herself. Regardless of who tried to stop her, she was going to let Bitter 17 understand who she had messed with. Hugh. Taking a deep breath, Monica resolved herself. Since you won't give up, I'll go all in. With trembling fingers, Monica pressed on the tablet. She was betting all of her savings. Holy. It's Bitter 79 this time with 1.5 billion you. Will Bitter 17 continue to bid? Bitter 17? No. Going once. Going twice, and sold. Yeah. The countdown felt agonizing, almost endless for Monica, who was cautiously looking at Bitter 17's room. Fortunately, the subsequent moments made everything worth it. Shouting out loud, Monica punched the air and celebrated. She had won. Congratulations, Mo-. Turning around, Donna was about to congratulate Monica, but her sentence was cut half short as Monica disappeared from the room. Clank. The sound of the door closing echoed across the room not long after. Oh, no. As if their minds were in sync, both Monica and Amber looked at each other before they both rushed towards the door and tried to catch up to Monica. If things were going as they predicted, then a really troubling situation was about to arise. Chapter 229, Auction 5. Have you called for me, sir? Jeremiah, right on time. Yes. Putting the red book down, I smiled at Jeremiah, who just entered the room. He was finally here. You probably have no idea that I already figured everything out, right? Seeing how carefree Jeremiah was, I secretly shook my head. In all fairness, I sort of understood why he was being carefree. The rock he had used to replace the one I had wasn't supposed to break as easily as it did. The rock that Jeremiah had given me was in fact made of volium, a more inexpensive ore that, although sturdy, did not hold a candle to aquilum. Even then, normally someone like me wouldn't have been able to break it. Volium could only be broken by someone whose strength was around rank, which none of the people in the room were. The only reason I could break the rock was because of the small ring on my finger. To be more precise, Angelica. She was the main reason as to why I was late today. Had it not taken me ages to convince her to turn into a ring, I would have never have been late to the meetup. It was worth it though. Thanks to her I was able to confirm that Ivan had replaced the rock. If only he knew. The more I looked at Ivan, the funnier he became to me. Just the carefree look he had on his face that said, "You'll never find out until it's too late," made me want to laugh out loud. Joke's on him, I had a Viscount-ranked demon on my finger. Though she was keeping quiet and suppressing her energy, Angelica was a full-blown Viscount-ranked demon. Exerting enough force to break the rock wasn't hard for her. Right, Jeremiah, I have a task for you. Turning my attention back to Jeremiah, I casually glanced at the red book in my hand. Should be soon. Yes, please tell me exactly what I need to do. Curtly replied Jeremiah as he bowed down slightly. I want you to. Bang. Who here is Bitter 17? Before I could finish speaking, the door of the room abruptly opened. A high-pitched voice echoed across the room moments after. Huh? What? Startled by the sudden intruder, everyone abruptly turned their heads towards where the voice came from. Instructor Jeffrey. What are you doing here? Emma shouted as she looked at Monica, who had just entered the room. Angelica, suppress all of your demonic energy. I urgently spoke inside of my mind. Angelica did not respond, but I knew that she was doing exactly that. If everything goes according to the book, Angelica shouldn't get spotted yet, I thought, as I looked at Monica who had entered the room. Huh? It's you guys? Looking around the room in confusion, Monica had a surprised look on her face. It was understandable. Who would have thought that the mysterious bitter 17 she was so angry it was one of her students? I would have been just as surprised. Monica, stop. Monica. Moments after Monica entered the room, 2 more figures entered the room. Spotting Monica, they instantly appeared next to her and tried to calm her down. Monica, you can't just barge into other PO, huh? Miss Longburn? Once again, everyone had a surprised look on their faces. Especially since everyone was all too familiar with one of the people that had just entered the room. Donna Longburn. Our class instructor. Wait, isn't that Amber Rose? Emma pointed out as she looked at the green-haired girl beside Donna. What? It's you guys? Stopping mid-sentence, Donna showed a similar reaction to Monica. Donna, you know them? Looking around, Amber asked. In response, Donna nodded her head.
Yeah.
They are my students. Oh. Amber's eyes lit up. They are the famous first years you spoke so highly of? Well, more or less. Who cares about that? I want to know who Bitter 17 is. Dismissing Donna and Amber, Monica fiercely looked around the room. Like a hawk, she scanned the whole room. Over here. Without even flinching, I pointed at Kevin. What? Hey, Ren. You're the one who made the bids. Kevin's eyes shot wide open as his voice raised a few pitches. Shaking my head, I looked at Kevin apologetically. Sorry, but you'll be today's sacrifice. Ignoring Kevin, I pointed at Kevin's seat where the number 17 was engraved at the bottom. No idea what you're talking about. Just take a look, your seat says 17 at the bottom. Mine says 15. Stop trying to shift the blame on me. RN. I see, so it's you, Kevin. Looking at Kevin's seat, Monica smiled. It was a smile that sent chills throughout the whole room. No, I swear this is a scheme devised by Ren. Kevin repeatedly shook his head as his body shuddered. Oi, why are you backstabbing me like this? I can't believe this. I'm disappointed in you, Kevin. A hurt look appeared on my face as I looked at Kevin. To think he would sell me out like this. I was truly disappointed. You. Kevin clenched on the armrest of the chair and glared at me. I feigned ignorance to his glare. Kevin, I'll see you in our next practice session. Calming down, Monica looked at Kevin for a good minute. After that, her lips savagely twisted upwards. But. No, buts. You better not be late for our next session. I'll be sure to take good care of you. Monica quickly cut Kevin off. There was no room for discussion. PFF. Staring at Kevin, who was at a loss for words, a small sound escaped from my lips as I tried my best to hold my laugh back. Ren. Sitting next to me, Kevin heard everything. The veins on his forehead bulged as a result. Jeremiah, I still haven't finished what I wanted to say. Ignoring Kevin, I leaned back on my seat and leisurely called out Jeremiah, who was sneakily moving towards the exit of the room. What are you doing over there, Jeremiah? Are you leaving? I thought that it was best if I left. Scratching his head in embarrassment, Jeremiah stopped moving. Droplets of sweat appeared by the side of his face. Weird. Heek. Monica's brows suddenly knit. Turning around, she appeared before Jeremiah, startling him. Ignoring his reaction, Monica took a good look at Jeremiah.
Ah.
Madam Jeffrey, I'm a bit uncomfortable by your stare, may I please go? Shut up and stop moving. Monica's tone became grave. Instantly the atmosphere in the room became sullen. Noticing the atmosphere, Donna and Amber looked at each other in the eye. They did not say anything. Though Monica was always childish, whenever she was serious it meant that something big had happened. Got him. Looking at Monica, who was staring intently at Jeremiah, I knew that Jeremiah, or to be more precise, Ivan, was trapped. Monica and Jeremiah had shared quite the history together. Not a romantic one, but one of pure hatred from Monica's side. Jeremiah had stolen from Monica before. Not once, but multiple times at that. With how naive and childish Monica was, she wasn't the hardest target to steal from. No, in fact, she was a thief's best friend. Especially since she was filthy rich. As such, Ivan always tended to target Monica. Whenever there was an event with Monica in it, Ivan would infiltrate the place and steal whatever Monica got. If Monica had to count how much she lost because of Ivan, she would estimate the value to be at around $500 million. An absurd figure. Her hatred for Ivan ran extremely deep. She tried utilizing all of the resources she had to catch Ivan, but like a slippery eel, he would always end up slipping away from her grasp. This time things were different though. With Ivan next to Monica, he was pretty much done for. With Monica's special ability, it wouldn't take long for her to recognize him. If before Ivan could run away it was because he never got too close to Monica. As Monica's ability was quite well known, he knew that he should never get too close to her. This was why he never serviced her privately. If he was next to her, the chances of him getting caught were extremely high. Unfortunately for him, I was here. Knowing Monica's personality quite well, I knew that she was going to come here to let Bidder 17 have a piece of her. The one bidder who had forced her to use all of the money she had saved up for the past few years. Taking advantage of this, right as Monica bought the last item, I instantly called Jeremiah. I wanted to let the two meet. Fortunately, as of now, everything proceeded smoothly. Should be here. Standing up, I muttered in a low tone as I moved toward a certain area of the room. It's you. Right as I leaned back on the wall by the side of the room, Monica's high-pitched voice once again resounded across the room. Looks like she finally recognized him. Opening her eyes wide, Monica instantly forgot about Kevin and threw a kick in Jeremiah's direction. Bang! Like a broken kite, Jeremiah flew all the way to the other side of the room and crashed against a wall. The wall I was next to. Miss, you can't kill an innocent man because of your anger.
Oh no.
Jeremiah, are you okay? Pretending to look startled, I quickly crouched down towards Jeremiah and tried to check his pulse. In reality, I was peeling his mask off. Because of how I was positioned, no one saw what I was doing. To them it just looked as though I was helping Jeremiah. That was far from the truth though. With one swift movement, I removed the mask that was on his face and put it in my dimensional space. This all happened in a matter of seconds, so no one was able to notice anything. Don't touch him, he's dangerous. Appearing next to me, I felt a slight tug on my shoulder. I soon found myself pushed back a couple of meters. Oh, why? Staring at Monica, I asked in a flustered manner. Take a look for yourself, Monica said as she nudged her head forward. Wait, his face is different. Looking down towards where Jeremiah was, I opened my eyes widely and pointed at Jeremiah. At the moment, with the mask now gone, his real face was laid bare for everyone to see. I wasn't the only one who noticed this as the whole room suddenly became quiet. Ivan Rankvik, it's been a while, hasn't it? Breaking the silence, Monica muttered in a low tone. Hints of pure rage could be felt from her voice as she spoke. Crack. Crack. Cracking her knuckles, Monica crouched down and stood at eye level with Ivan, who was slowly regaining consciousness. How about we catch up for old time's sake? Chapter 230, Auction, 6. Did you manage to retrieve all of the stolen goods? Asked Amber as she sat on a large leather chair. Before her, a female secretary politely nodded her head. Yes, we have, madam. How much would we have lost if Ivan had succeeded? That. The secretary hesitated. Brushing her hair to the side, Amber's brows knit and her tone became stern. I want a clear answer. Instantly the atmosphere turned sullen. 2.7 billion you. Closing her eyes, the secretary mustered up her courage and revealed everything that she knew. Hoo. Hearing the sum, Amber took a deep breath. She then looked at her assistant and asked once again. She wanted to make sure she didn't mishear. Upgrade to Office 2024, get now, AD. PSSBS. Upgrade to Office 2024, get now. Find out more personalized content here, AD. Discovery feed. Find out more personalized content here. Unfortunately for her, she did not mishear as her secretary shook her head. 2.7 billion you, am I hearing incorrectly? You unfortunately not, madam. After investigating, we found a lot of the auctioned items to have been replaced with fakes. Excluding the sword, the last item, everything that was stolen had an accumulated value of 2.7 billion you.
Huh?
All right, you may leave. Letting out a long sigh, Amber dismissed her secretary. 2.7 billion. Although this was within her estimation, hearing the number still threw Amber off. This was a lot of money. Even she, a ranked hero as well as the owner of multiple businesses, would need at least a couple of decades to be able to save up that much money. Thank you, madam, I hope you have a good night. Yes, yes. Dismissed, the secretary bowed her head. Amber casually waved her hand in response. She needed to be left alone. Clank. Closing the door behind her, the servant left the room. Silence prevailed over the room as Amber quietly picked up some papers and looked through them. Flip. Flip. For the next 30 minutes, Amber skimmed through the stack of papers. Written on them were the details of the incident as well as other information regarding the times retrieved from Ivan's dimensional storage space. Sigh, I can't seem to be able to concentrate. After a while, Amber put the papers down. Just thinking about the whole situation gave her a headache. In fact, her head was already starting to hurt. Opening her desk drawer, Amber took a small cylindrical bottle and took out a pill. If not for Monica, things would have turned out disastrous. Taking a glass of water, Amber downed the pill and muttered. Had it not been for Monica, her night would have been a sleepless one. Most of the responsibility for the incident would have been put on her, and in all likelihood, she was going to be the one who would have to pay a large portion of the damages. To think that there was a day where I would have to thank Monica. The world is truly something. Bitterly laughing, Amber leaned back on her chair and covered her eyes with her arm. She was tired. Outside the King's Crown Hotel. See, everything worked out just fine. With a smile on my face, I patted Kevin on the shoulder. All in all, everything worked out just fine. Rather than remaining angry at Kevin, Monica actually thanked him and completely forgave him. Everything worked out just fine. There was no need for Kevin to remain angry at me. Don't touch me. Smacking my hand away, Kevin grumpily made his way towards the limousine that was a few blocks ahead. Oh, come on. It wasn't that bad. Monica is not even angry at you. It doesn't matter. You backstabbed me. Tisk, if we're talking about selling out, shouldn't we be talking about you? Clicking my tongue, I rebutted. What about me? Did you forget about the fact that you literally exposed our conversation to everyone a couple of hours ago? What? That's different. In response to my argument, Kevin's brows knit. Is it though? Yes, it is. Shaking my head repeatedly, in a low voice that only Kevin and I could hear, I softly aid. No, it isn't. Who would you rather piss off, Monica or Melissa? If someone asked me who I would rather deal with, I would have without a doubt have chosen Monica. Although she was weird, she wasn't as crazy as a truly angered Melissa. I'd rather deal with her than Melissa. Fortunately, now that I was in a business relation with Melissa, things weren't that bad. However, if it was someone else rather than me, well, let's just say that things wouldn't really be good. Hearing my statement, Kevin opened his mouth. No words came out of his mouth. Deep in his heart, he also shared the same sentiment as me. Melissa was definitely worse than Monica. See, even you agree. Taking advantage of his hesitation, I pointed out. Whatever, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Waving his hand in dismissal, Kevin entered the limousine. You're running away, I muttered, whilst following him from behind. In the end, Kevin knew that I was right. An angry Melissa wasn't someone anyone could handle. That aside, Kevin's anger was somewhat understandable. I did make him take the fall for me. In my defense, everything turned out just fine. Rather than being angry at Kevin, Monica was quite grateful for him. As they say, all is well that ends well. Had Kevin not pissed Monica off, she would have never have been able to discover Ivan. The one person she detested with all her heart. Aside from that, now that she had caught him, she would be able to take back all of the items that he had stolen from her. Me included. The loss she made for buying the sword would quickly be made back. Get in. Melissa shouted as she rolled the window of the limousine down. I. Talk about the devil. Taking one last look at the King's Crown Hotel, I entered the limousine. The auction had officially come to a close. Asterisk. After separating from the others, I returned to my room. All right, you can come out, Angelica. At my words, black smoke rose in the air and Angelica's enchanting figure appeared before me. Staring at Angelica for a couple of seconds, I thanked her. Thank you for your hard work. I'm going to the training room. Nodding her head in acknowledgement, Angelica made her way towards the training ground. Looking at Angelica's indifferent figure moving towards the training grounds, I shook my head. Ever since moving to this new apartment, Angelica had been spending most of her time in the training grounds. With its great insulating system, Angelica could now train without holding back. She no longer had to worry about her demonic energy being detected when training, as the isolating system in the private training ground stopped all energy from leaking out. She could train all she wanted. That aside. Schwa. Tapping into my bracelet, a wooden mask appeared in my hand. The Mask of Dolos. I had finally laid my hands on the Mask of Dolos. An item that would prove extremely useful for me in the future. With the mask in my hand, a lot of possibilities had opened up for me. Especially when planning future schemes and endeavors. Well, in the future at least. Unfortunately, because the mask was so highly ranked, I could only use it for short periods of time before my mana would run out. This put a limit on the things I could do with the mask. Still, this was good enough for now. With my strength progressing at a much faster rate compared to others, it wouldn't be long till I would be able to fully utilize the mask. Furthermore, with the tournament coming up in a month's time, I wasn't planning on using the mask anytime soon. Though I did have plans for it, they were for way later into the future. That reminds me. Standing up, I stretched my back. I guess I should start making preparations for the upcoming tournament. With only a month left till the start of the Inter-Academy tournament, I knew that I had to start making preparations for it. Prior to the tournament, there were supposed to be 3 big events orchestrated by the monolith. After completely destroying the first event, the banquet, there were supposed to be another 2 events. However, they never occurred. Did they perhaps give up, or are they planning something else? Sitting down on the sofa in the living room, I mused. Knowing the monolith well, I knew that they wouldn't give up on such an important event just because one of their plans had failed. There must be something else. Despite checking on the monolith watch, I could not figure out what the monolith had in plan for the tournament. Even so, whatever they were planning on doing, I wasn't going to just sit down and wait for everything to happen. No, that was the perfect recipe for disaster. For the next month or so I was planning on doing a thorough investigation of everything that was happening in and out of the academy. Only once I knew what their plan was could I come up with the appropriate countermeasures. Rather than have them set up a net that I wouldn't be able to escape from, I would much rather create holes in the net to later use to my advantage. This way I could come up with proper countermeasures for when the situation arose. For that, I needed to spend the next month wisely. Who knows? Perhaps I can even benefit from this ordeal. I muttered as I laid down on my sofa. At the same time, in a different room. Da-da-da-da, dum, dum dum. Lying down on her bed with her hair scattered, Emma hummed to the tune of one of her favorite songs. Playing on her phone, Emma opened her calendar and checked her schedule. Suddenly, something caught her interest. Oh. Kevin's birthday is coming up soon. Months ago she remembered asking Kevin for his birthday. After he had told her when his birthday was, Emma remembered putting it on her calendar so that she wouldn't forget. Should I buy him a gift? Emma's muttered as her cheeks suddenly reddened. Wait. What am I even thinking? Why would I need to buy a gift for him? I've never bought a gift for a boy before. Clutching onto the hem of her dress, Emma silently shrieked as a myriad of thoughts entered her mind. That's right. There's no meaning behind the gift. I'm just thanking him for all the help I received from him. Convincing herself that there was no meaning behind her action, Emma changed position. This time she was laying down face flat on her bed. What should I buy him? Emma was stumped. Having never bought a gift for a boy before, she had no clue on what to buy. Should I ask Ren? A thought suddenly struck her. Given how close Ren and Kevin were, there was a chance he would know about what Kevin would like, but I don't know, I'd rather not. The idea of asking Ren to help her get a gift irked her a bit. If possible, she didn't want to do this. Right, how much money do I have left? Emma suddenly recalled something. With her bank account frozen, Emma just realized that she couldn't spend too much money on the gift for Kevin. She needed to check how much money she had available before deciding. Opening her bank account, Emma's mouth hung wide open. Account 64098U. She had no money. Clank. Closing the door behind her, Amanda entered her room. Slumping on her bed, Amanda thought back on today's events. At first, everything seemed normal. The auction seemed to be just like any regular action. That was until the last item was brought up. That was when everything became weird. Suddenly Kevin started a bidding frenzy. He just kept on putting bid after bid after bid. At one point, the bid reached such high figures that even Emma was at a loss for words. However, during his bidding frenzy, though others may have not have noticed it as they were all focusing on Kevin, Amanda saw the subtle gestures and eye contact Ren would make to Kevin from time to time. From there she started observing Ren more. She knew that something wasn't right. It was then that she realized that Ren was in fact the one making the bids. Amanda was able to figure this out due to the way Ren was tapping on his tablet. It was too in sync with the call signboard. Though Kevin was also tapping on his tablet, his tapping was a few seconds slower than the call sign that would light up whenever a bid was made. This did not escape Amanda's perception as she quickly came up with a conclusion. Ren was the bidder. Later on, an even more shocking event happened. Monica, her new instructor, burst into the room and suddenly kicked their attendant Jeremiah into a wall. Jeremiah later turned out to be Ivan Ranvik, an extremely notorious thief. Did Ren know about Ivan? Amanda couldn't help but think as she looked back at the events of today. There were just too many coincidences. The timing at which Monica and Ivan arrived seemed too perfect for Amanda. Furthermore, if Ren had purposely bid on the last item to cause Monica to come, it all made sense. It was just that Amanda couldn't figure out was how Ren knew that Monica was in the other VVIP room. Given that all information was kept a secret, and all the rooms were assigned randomly, such a thing wouldn't have been possible. Another thing that she didn't know was how Ren was able to know that Jeremiah was Ivan. Given his notoriety for being able to even escape the grasp of ranked heroes, Amanda really couldn't figure out how Ren found out about his identity. In the end, though curious, Amanda didn't want to pry too deeply. Everyone had their secrets and she respected that. Perhaps one day he would reveal it to everyone. Ding! Snapping her out of her thoughts was a small chime that rang from her phone. Looking at the ID of the sender, Amanda realized it was Emma who had texted her. Amanda, I need your help with something. What do you need? Picking up the phone, Amanda sent a quick reply. Following which Emma responded back. I want to borrow some money. Reading the message, Amanda's brows knit for a couple of seconds before they quickly loosened. She had somehow heard of Emma's situation from Maxwell. So understood what Emma was going through at the moment. Okay, how much do you need? About 5 million you? Can you lend me that much? Emma's reply came quite late. It was evident that she took a bit of time to write the message. Only that much?
Yeah.
It's Kevin's birthday in a bit and I wanted to buy him a gift. Kevin's birthday? Amanda's brows knit. She had no idea that it was soon going to be Kevin's birthday. Should I also get him a gift like Emma? Amanda wondered. Was the polite thing to do? Amanda didn't know. In the end, Amanda didn't know whether to give him a gift or not. She wasn't actually that close to Kevin, so she wasn't really comfortable with the idea of giving him a gift. So can you lend me? Yes, no problem. Snapping out of her thoughts was a text from Emma. Amanda replied back. Thank you so much, Amanda, I'll pay you back soon. Okay. Closing her messaging app, Amanda opened her bank account and quickly transferred the money to Emma. Moments after, the money was quickly sent. Ring. Ring. Right after Amanda sent Emma the money, her phone rang. Picking up the phone, Amanda answered. It was Maxwell. Hello? Ah, young lady. Maxwell's voice rang out from the speaker. His voice sounded quite rushed. Yes? Young lady, there's a situation. Instantly Amanda had an ominous premonition. Chapter 231, Recruitment 1. June flew by and July was nearing. Summer had already approached and the temperatures were starting to rise. Inside of a training ground. Clank. Clank. The heavy sound of metal resounded across the room. "Ren, cover me!" shouted Kevin as he quickly moved right of me. As his foot tapped on the ground, his body suddenly shot upwards. Hup! Swoosh! Right as Kevin's foot touched the ground, I drew a circle in the air and pointed my finger towards a certain spot in the distance. In the same direction, Kevin was headed. "Thanks!" Twisted his body, Kevin quickly arrived before my ring. Putting his foot on the ring, he propelled his body towards the center of the room where a young girl leisurely stood.
Ha!
Arriving before Monica, Kevin let out a shout and slashed his sword down. Not bad. Clank! Lifting her sword with one hand, Monica easily blocked Kevin's attack. But still not good enough. Bomb! Goo! Coo! Casually swinging her sword and parrying Kevin's attack, Kevin was instantly pushed in my direction. Because of how fast he was going, I wasn't able to stop him in time and we soon both crashed against a wall. This is so unfair," I muttered as I laid down on the ground. My back hurt like hell. "I agree." Supporting his body with one arm, Kevin weakly stood up. Raising his sword, he glared in Monica's direction. "Oh, you're not done? I like your fighting spirit. Ren, stand up. It's not over yet."
Ugh.
Lifting my head, I let out a groan. Damn it, I just want to lay down on the ground for another minute. I'm the one who took the brunt of the attack, not you. Why couldn't he let me rest? Putting my hand on my knee, I stood up and stretched my neck. My eyes soon interlocked with Kevin's. Seriously? Without him even telling me what he wanted to do, I understood what he meant. All right. Good. Nodding my head, I placed my hand on the grip of my sword. Kevin on the other hand raised his sword with both hands. Hoo! Taking a deep breath, I channeled all the mana inside of my body. A white hue shrouded my body. Cracka! Cracka! Mixed within the white hue were blue bolts of lightning that repeatedly crackled in the air. By my side, an empowering red hue expanded from Kevin's body. He was also getting ready to attack. Oh. You guys planning on using your strongest techniques? Good, good, I want to see. At the front, Monica's eyes lit up. Swoosh! Swoosh! Let's see if you guys are any good. Waving her new sword in the air as if showing off, Monica taunted. Ready? Never been readier. As the red hue around Kevin's body became especially empowering, Kevin looked at me. Looking back at him, I nodded my head. Let's go. Kevin muttered as he slashed down. Voom. Instantly an enormous sword beam hurtled in Monica's direction. A powerful energy could be felt from the sword beam as a thick scar traced the path of the sword beam. Looking at Kevin's attack, I thought, slashing down with both hands on the sword, so he's already reached that stage. Kevin could now perform the 15th movement of the Levi Shaw style. Not bad at all. Still. The third movement of the Keiki style, Void Step. Not wanting to be outdone, after finally charging up, I took a stance. Moments after, the world around me turned dark and I found myself standing right before Monica. Huh? My sudden appearance startled Monica, who for a second didn't know what to do. Taking advantage of the opening I created, I aimed my sword attack towards her head. Unfortunately, Monica was quickly able to recover from the shock. Not bad. Faced with my and Kevin's attack, Monica smiled and muttered. Shaw. Tilted her neck to the side. To my horror, Monica easily dodged my attack. After avoiding my attack, Monica casually swung her sword down and a small orange beam shot towards Kevin's sword beam. Crocka. As if made out of paper, Kevin's sword beam crumbled instantly.
Ha. Ha.
This is so unfair. Landing next to Monica, I got on my knees and took heavy breaths. On the other side of the room, Kevin slumped down on the ground and supported his body with his sword. Damn it. Though I knew that the gap between me and in rank was huge, I didn't think it would be this huge. Throughout the whole time, it was as though Monica was treating us like children. She made it seem as though our most powerful attacks were nothing but child's play in front of her. I'm impressed. Tracing her finger on the scar left behind by Kevin's sword beam, Monica complimented. To think that you guys were this strong. You guys were almost as good as me back when I was your age. Listening to Monica's shameless boast, my mouth twitched. Can't you be more humble? Unfortunately for me, I had designed Monica to be this way. If I had to complain, I could only complain to myself. Here, take this. Looking in my direction, Monica casually threw a book in my direction. This. Catching the book, I didn't think too much at first, but my eyes soon shot wide open. Quickly skimming through its contents, my heart started to race. Quick slash style. A sword art fully focused on speed. With one quick draw, the user gains the ability to kill an opponent without them noticing anything had happened. Created to replicate the keiki style. After years of research, this sword art was the result. Is this for me? With trembling hands, I looked at Monica. Yup, since you need to hide your sword art, I decided to give you a little gift. The sword art is 3.5 stars, but given the criteria, this was the best I could find. Putting her sword away, Monica nodded her head. You don't like it? No, of course, I like it. There's no way I wouldn't like it. I quickly shook my head. How can I not like this? It's perfect. With how popular Grandmaster Keiki was, the idea of someone trying to imitate his sword art wasn't strange. In fact, there were many sword arts similar to the Keiki style in circulation at the moment, but after a quick skim through, I would just toss them away. Though call them imitations was already a compliment. They were not even close to their real thing. This, however, was different. Although it was still far off from the Keiki style, visually it wasn't. Meaning that the techniques looked exactly like the Keiki style. That's right. If I practiced this sword art, I could now use the Keiki style whenever I wished without arousing too much attention. Though it would only limit me to the basic movements, this made things much easier for me. I don't know what to say, thank you, Miss Jeffrey. Since I am your instructor, I'll naturally take care of you. Snorting, Monica looked away. From the side, I could see Monica's ears turning red. She was trying her best to hide her embarrassment. Right, forgot she was weak to compliments. Despite how boastful and shameless appeared to be, Monica was in fact extremely weak to compliments. Just one compliment was enough to set her off. If you guys perform badly, I'm going to look bad, so I must do my best to make you guys stronger for when the tournament comes. Still trying her best to hide her embarrassment, in a stern tone Monica added. But, no one actually knows you're coaching us. I voiced inside of my heart. Of course, only in my heart. Had I actually said it out loud, given Monica's personality, I would be in for another round of beating. Wasn't looking forward to that. Kevin, for you I don't have anything. Unlike Rin over here, you already have another sword art, so just use that. Try your best to not use the Levi Shaw style. Kevin did in fact have another 4-star sword art. He was also quite skilled with it. Hiding the Levi Shaw style wasn't going to be a problem for him. Understood. Kevin and I said in sync. Alright, that's it for today's lesson. You guys can both go back. Turning around, Monica quickly left the training ground, leaving Kevin and I heavily panting on the ground. Go! Swoosh! Throwing a metal ball forward, a young petite girl shouted. Following her shout, a furry brown creature flew past her and quickly caught up with the ball. Crunch! Appearing before the metal ball, the furry creature quickly bit down on the metal and completely crushed it. Good job, Newton. Clapping her hands, the young girl, Ava, rushed towards the furry creature. Upon closer look, the furry creature looked to be a brown bird with sharp eyes. The bird was in fact a sharp-clawed sparrow. An ranked creature that even now Ava had some trouble taming. With the sparrow being stronger than her, Ava had a hard time controlling it fully, as it would oftentimes not heed her command. Fortunately, things seemed to have been getting better for her recently, as Newton, her contracted beast, was starting to become more and more obedient. This was generally a good sign for monster tamers. Go, Newton. Taking out another metal ball, Ava threw it in the air. Newton? Thud. With a large thud, the ball fell to the ground. This time Newton did not catch the ball. Rather, it did not even glance at the ball. A bust. Dejectively lowering her head, Ava moved to pick up the metal ball. If only I was born as talented. Ava was not an only child, she had 3 older siblings. All of whom were way more talented than her. Despite her family treating her just like all of her other siblings, Ava truly felt inferior to her siblings. During family dinners, she would always be the one to talk the least, as her talent and achievements were not worth talking about, unlike her siblings who always had something to talk about. She hated that. Ava wanted to let others know of her skills and talent. She wanted to proudly boast her powers like her siblings. She wanted to get complimented by her parents. She wanted to be acknowledged. Alas, that's only a distant dream of mine. Looking at Newton, who had already flown towards a nearby tree, Ava sighed. Newton, come back down. Ring. Ring. Right as she was calling for Newton to get down, her phone suddenly rang. Confused, Ava looked at the caller ID. Noun. Unknown? Who could this be? Hesitating on whether she should pick it up or not, Ava eventually picked it up and answered the call. Hello? Who's this? Ava, it's me. Mind if we meet up? Answering the call, a bright voice entered Ava's ears. She instantly recognized the owner of the voice. Ren? Chapter 232, Recruitment 2. After calling Ava and setting up an appointment with her, I asked Small Snake to send me an official contract. Today I was planning on recruiting Ava. The location of our meetup was the same cafe Amanda had brought me a couple of months back. It was fairly secluded and was ideal for these kinds of deals. Over here, Ava. Not long after I entered the cafe and sat down, I spotted Ava's figure entering the place. Standing up, I called out for her. Spotting me, Ava headed in my direction. Thank you for coming. No problem, Ren. Lowering her head, Ava shyly sat down on the seat opposite of me. Would you like to order anything? It's on me. I offered as I handed her the menu. No, thank you. Ava shook her head. So, what did you want to talk about? Straight to the point, I see. Well, it was understandable. The relationship between Ava and I could only be considered to be as close acquaintances. We weren't really friends, and given Ava's shy nature, I more or less understood why she wanted to get this over with quickly. Here. Taking out a stack of papers from my dimensional space, I slid them over to Ava. In it were the details of the contract that Small Snake had sent me. It had all the information regarding the salary, working hours, benefits, and other things that she would get if she worked for me. What's this? Looking at the papers, Ava tilted her head to the side. Just read it. Okay. Taking the papers, Ava started to read them. After a couple of minutes, I watched as Ava's brows knit together tightly. Lifting her head up, she asked in a soft voice, "Why you're trying to recruit me?" "Indeed," I smiled, "I want to recruit you to my mercenary group. Are you willing?" Ava didn't respond immediately. She proceeded to flip through the papers one more time. "Sorry." After a short pause, Ava closed the papers and pushed them back in my direction. Putting my hand on the papers, I raised my other hand. "Before you refuse, listen to what I have to say." Watching her push the papers back, I wasn't disheartened one bit. From the very beginning, I was prepared to be rejected. A 16-year-old boy recruiting you to a newly established mercenary group that barely had any members. No matter how you look at it, this deal looked shady. I understood that. That was why negotiations existed. "Ava, you're talented." "No, to call you talented would be an understatement. You are extremely talented." Smiling, pushed the papers back, and started praising her. In response to the praise, Ava's face turned red. Me? Yes, just the fact that you can contract with two beasts at once is proof enough. Typically monster tamers could only tame one beast at a time. This applied to even the strongest monster tamers on Earth. However, Ava could tame two at the same time. This alone proved that she was extremely talented in the art of monster taming. She needed to understand this. But, they won't listen to my orders." "You're too hasty, Ava." "What do you mean?" "Don't compare yourself to the others. Just the fact that your rank is enough proof that you're talented. If you compare yourself to other people, then, of course, you will look a lot less talented compared to them. However, keep in mind that you're a monster tamer. Monster tamers tend to develop at a much slower pace than the others. This was because they mainly focused on training their pets rather than themselves. Their slow progress was in every right, understandable. Because Ava was exposed to such an amazing class filled with prodigies like Kevin and the others, she had started to subconsciously think that she was not talented. This was not correct. Compared to the other students, in terms of ranking, she was above average. Most shockingly, however, was that she was above average whilst being a monster tamer. A profession that grew much slower than other professions. Though she and the others did not notice, she was in fact a prodigy herself. She needed to understand that. "Thank you for your kind words, but I'm still not sure. Don't reject me, Jess." Listening to what I had to say, Ava lowered her head and muttered in a low voice. She once again tried to reject me. Tiring. Just as I was about to respond, my phone suddenly rang. My brows knit. What now? "Excuse me for a second." "No problem, take your time." Taking out my phone, my already furrowed brows tightened. Checking the foremost notification, I noticed that the sender was Emma. I need your help. What gift should I buy for Kevin's birthday? Can you tell me?" Ads by Pub Future. Shaking my head, I turned off my phone. Now was not the time for me to deal with this. Turning my attention back to Ava, I decided to unravel my trump card. "Ava, there's one more thing I forgot to mention when giving you the contract." "What is it?" "If you join, this will be yours." Taking out a pale green flute from my dimensional space, I gently placed it on the table. "A flute?" curiously asked Ava as she looked at the flute on the table. "It's not just any regular flute, have a look." Smiling, I handed Ava the flute. "Tea this." Cautiously taking the flute, I watched as Ava's eyes opened widely. Holding onto the flute, Ava's hands trembled uncontrollably.
Yeah.
"You're seeing it right. This is your ticket to the top." Propping my chin up, the edge of my lips curled upwards. This should be enough to entice her to join, no? Presented with the opportunity to change her fate, Ava wouldn't reject me, right? Had I been in her position, I would join without even flinching. Looking at Ava, whose eyes did not leave the flute once, I once again asked, "So, do you still wish to refuse?" At the same time, is he still going to ignore my text? Emma grumbled as she looked at her phone. About an hour ago, she had sent Ren a text. It was regarding Kevin's gift. Despite agonizing over this issue for a whole week, she still couldn't figure out what gift to buy for his birthday. Out of desperation, she decided to ask Ren. He had yet to reply to her text. GHHH, he definitely ignored my message. Gnashing her teeth, Emma put her phone away. There was no way Ren had not seen her message yet. In all likelihood he had ignored her. What should I do? Placing her hand on her chin, Emma mused. With Ren not even bothering to text her back, Emma had no idea how to proceed next. Maybe Amanda can help me. Suddenly Emma's eyes lit up. Amanda could definitely help her. Heading out of her room, she decided to ask for Amanda's aid. Though she did text Amanda today, she had still not gotten a response from her, which was strange since she would always respond promptly. As such, Emma decided to directly go to her. Since they lived in the same building, it didn't take long for Emma to arrive at Amanda's room. Knock. Knock. Arriving before the door that led to Amanda's room, Emma knocked. No response? A minute after knocking, Emma got no response. Knock. Did she perhaps not hear me knock? Plausible. Emma knocked again. Yet again, no one responded. She's probably out, Emma muttered as she shook her head. What do I do now? Standing in front of Amanda's room for a solid minute, Emma lowered her head. In the end, she chose to give up and return to her room. She'll try to ask Amanda again later. 9:48 p.m. So you're saying that she rejected your offer?
Yeah.
Standing outside of the balcony of my room with my phone on my ear, I responded. On the other side of the phone was Small Snake. Even after you showed her the artifact and everything? I guess the offer wasn't tempting enough. Despite showing Ava the flute of Artemis as well as the lucrative contract, she rejected me. This caught me off guard. Almost blindsided me as I was confident in what I had to offer. Even now, I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that Ava had rejected me. If I were to have been in her position, I would have immediately have agreed to sign the contract. Especially after seeing the flute of Artemis. A cheat-like item that would make any monster tamer drool at its sight. So what are your plans now that you failed? Small Snake asked. I'm not sure, I'll have to think things through. What about you? How's the situation with Ryan going? Ryan? Everything is going well. Though he still hasn't signed the contract yet, Leopold and I have already met him once. He came to the headquarters yesterday.
Ha.
That's great. At least this was a piece of good news. After failing to recruit Ava this morning, my mood had soured quite a bit. At the very least I could take this piece of news as a consolation prize. I guess there are times when things just don't work out. Bothersome, but this was just how life went. Nothing was ever going to go as I planned. Sometimes life just loved to throw curveballs at you. All right, Ren, I have to go. Call me if you need anything. All right. Slowly closing my eyes, I hung up the phone. Tack. Putting my phone inside of my dimensional space, I proceeded to head to the training room inside of my apartment. Opening the doors that led to the training grounds, I looked at Angelica, who was sitting crossed-legged in the middle of the room. Angelica. What is it, human? Angelica opened her eyes slightly. Can I ask you something? Make it quick. Angelica coldly said. Small undulations of demonic energy emitted from her body. Ignoring the uncomfortable feeling I was getting from her energy, I scratched my neck. Right, how is Silic doing? The previous conversation with Small Snake reminded me of something. It was that there was still a member out there. Silic. After having returned from Amora, with everything that was going on, I wasn't able to check on how he was doing. Fortunately, there was Angelica. Silic? Fully opening her eyes, Angelica once again asked.
Yeah.
How is he doing? Since Angelica had signed a contract with Silic, I knew that she could contact him whenever she wanted. Thanks to that, I could now figure out Silic's situation as well as Amora's. With time flowing 10 times slower than Amora, a year or so should have passed since I had come back here. Many things should have changed whilst I was gone. Though I knew Silic was still alive as Angelica was still right in front of me, I wanted to know if anything major had happened during the time that I had left. As of now, nothing major happened. Angelica apathetically said as she once again closed her eyes. Nothing major happened, meaning that the war is still ongoing? Yes. Then, has he broken through? No, if he did I would have felt it. Right? That was stupid of me to ask. If Silic broke through to S rank, then Angelica would have also seen a considerable boost in power. Since it wasn't like that, it meant that he had still not broken through. Any more questions? No, that's enough for now. I shook my head. This was enough to appease my curiosity. That aside, I just hope that everything works out fine. The reason why I was asking about Silic was because he was a double-edged sword. Like I've said before, although he said that he would serve me after I helped him with his revenge, I couldn't just trust his words. In the first place, the reason why he had even agreed to my terms was because I had taken advantage of his situation. By taking advantage of his thirst for revenge, I convinced him to join my side. However, once he got his revenge and his emotions stabilized, I wasn't sure whether he would honor his words. Would he still submit to me or would he rebel? I wasn't sure. Perhaps at first, he would honor his words, but as time passed and his influence in Amora rose, there was a possibility of him getting drunk on his power and just outright ignoring my orders when the time came that I needed him for something. This was a very real possibility that I couldn't exclude. Though I had chained him with Angelica's contract, I knew that this wasn't a viable long-term option. Excluding Angelica's 5-year contract, if Silic became too powerful, then in all likelihood there was a chance that he could break the contract naturally. Though he would face a backlash, it was a still plausible situation that I couldn't discard. I needed to quickly think of a solution to this new problem I was facing. More annoying is the fact that I don't have much time to work with. From 2 months to 6 months, that was how long I estimated the War of Amora to last for. After that, it would take anything between 10 to 50 years Amoran years for him to fully solidify his position as the leader of the orcs. During that time period of time, I had to think of a solution. The easiest solution would be for me to become stronger than Silic. If I could beat Silic in a one-on-one battle, then there was a high chance that he would submit to me for real. Since orcs valued power, this was the easiest solution I could think of. The only problem was the time frame. Can I really reach rank in 5 years? I wasn't sure. Though possible, I could not take it for granted. I needed backup plans. Unfortunately, my head was currently empty. I really wasn't sure how to proceed next. Sigh, there's so much I needed to do in so little time. Letting out a long extended sigh, I scratched the back of my neck. For now, it was best if I stopped overthinking things. One step at a time. Everything had an order, I couldn't rush things.